Bull or bear? I'm rolling the 17.99 pillar dollar. And she comes up a bear. Let's see what happens. Good morning. Hey, what's up, folks? This is Brian Kuzmar with Commercial Rare Coins and Precious Metals in beautiful Lauderdale by the Sea. Got the live Deerfield beach cam on right now. Lots of bait fish out there. And I don't know how your weather is outside of Florida for you folks outside of Florida listening, but it has been hot down here. 106 degrees or 107 on the heat index. Consistently pretty much 95 on my thermometer. Tried to get some things done outside this weekend. Didn't even want to go down and sit in the water because the water looked like it was about 101. So anyways, beautiful day anyways. And again, this is like for us Floridians, this super hot weather, and I guess it's happening all across the country, but this super hot weather is not much different than the northeastern people or the people up north that get sub-zero temperatures. You just stay indoors and hope the AC works or your heat works. All right, well, wow, beautiful day out there. Take a look at that. Let's get into today's video, which is about precious metals. First, this is satire, folks. This video brought to you by the world's leading crooked derivatives marketplace, the CME Group, where your COMEX gold, silver, and platinum prices are, where they're created in the crooked paper market, and their worthless buddies at the CFTC regulatory agency. At least that's what they call themselves. I had to throw that in there, a little it's just, if you can't cry about it, you got to joke about it, and that's exactly what I'm doing about here. I'm not joking in a way. I truly believe that, in my opinion, that this is definitely a most crooked operation out there, and I don't think it's just silver anymore. I used to believe it was only the silver market that was crooked in the CME Group's Crimex marketplace. I don't believe that anymore. I believe across the board there's a lot of markets that are probably crooked out there, and I believe Gary Gensler, who is now head of SEC or something like that, tried to take out the players in the oil markets because they were falsely, and they are still today, creating false prices in the oil markets. But again, that's not my expertise. And here's the group that's supposed to actually, the Commodity Future Trading Commission. Here's the morons, and if you realize who runs the CFTC, and again, this is my opinion and the opinion of people much smarter than me, and if you just take a look, it's the Agriculture Committee right here, Agriculture Advisory. Agriculture Committee is the one that rules over the CFTC, or this governing body right here. But if you ever look at the Agricultural Commission, who sits on that, their total IQ can't be more than 100 in my opinion, but I digress. Let's just talk about the CFTC. Their job is supposed to be keeping an eye on these markets, making sure that the Crimex CME Group, the world's leading crooked derivatives marketplace, plays a straight game, or makes sure that their players play a straight game, except it doesn't happen. At least in the silver markets, we know it doesn't happen, folks. All right, the CME Group allows the big commercial banks to go in there and just run over these markets with throwing large amounts of money. Banks should not be allowed to invest. Banks should not be allowed to do any of this stuff. Banks should be banks, period. And the problem with banks doing this is they're like the 800-pound gorillas out there, and not a bunch of them that are able to completely take these silver market, and I'm sure other markets as well, and just manipulate the hell out of them, collusively manipulate the hell out of them to their benefit, of course, for the most part. And the CFTC, again, is supposed to be the regulatory agency that, I'm always on the CFTC anyway. I think they're about worthless as tits on a log, and that's not a dirty word, by the way. And worthless. And probably most of them work for their buddies here over at the CME Group or something, because they ain't doing their jobs. And when they claim they're doing their jobs, you know what the CFTC goes, they go out there and they hit these several $1 million scammers, all right? And they throw their arms up in the air like they've done a great service. Oh, we got rid of this guy that scammed it's a lot of money, 7 million, 10 million, but they go after these low-level criminals, these petty thieves, while they're basically working for the world's largest thief. And when I say working for, I really believe the CFTC works for them because they certainly don't work for us, and they certainly are no regulatory agency when it comes to the markets here. All right, got that out of my system. Let's move along here. Quote of the day: all tyrannies rule through fraud and force, but once the fraud is exposed, they must rely exclusively on force. And folks, that's a very powerful comment, especially what we were just talking about through fraud, through our the CrimeX, ComEx derivatives markets, and the lack of any regulation or any government agency doing anything about it. And basically, not the lack of them doing anything about it, them actually assisting, being complicit in the crime and the manipulation in the silver markets. And you can also say this same thing about current administrations that run this country right here as well, and the agencies that are supposed to work for us, okay? You know, at some point, you know, you point the fraud out to them, they don't even care. Especially, again, look at the silver markets. You point the fraud out right to them, and they don't care. It's more in your face, in fact, and it's like they're throwing up a big F you. We know it, F you can't do anything about it, but that's not true, folks. We can do something about it. I'm not going to get into that, but, and we are actually. I think the tide's changing here a little bit. I think the fraud, to some degree, is being detected, and I think that at some point that, you know, man, if we can do it right, we'll get rid of those fraudsters. But hey, let me talk about today's markets. I'm really surprised. I expected a much lower market this morning in last night's overnight markets than what I'm seeing right now. Silver's getting monkey hammered, of course, as we expected. Ted Butler suspected we might see a couple dollar takedown in silver because of the large commercial short position that, again, this manipulative, large, big position by commercial banks that just showed up again in the silver market and has whacked these prices down again. However, here's the caveat here. Here's the thing, all right, is that as Ted Butler points out correctly, is that we are at a level right now of extreme silver shortages. And I know some people are going to say, Brian, how can that be? You just told us that that there's silver premiums are down substantially, and that I can buy my 1 ounce silver bars and my Eagles way less. And yes, folks, the investment, the small physical investment part of the silver market and the gold market has dropped quite a bit. Part of it's seasonal, part of it's a lot of people are bought in, part of it is a lot of Americans still haven't understood. There's a very small percentage of people that buy gold and silver on the retail end. So we are, even though we may feel like we are a big segment of the market, us investors, you know, the silver apes out there and all the people that are buying gold and silver, we are a very, very, very small group, folks. We are a very, very small party. We're a small club, that's for sure, all right? People that are gold and silver. So just because there's a lot of gold and silver available right now to retail investors, so to speak, and wholesale investors, wholesale dealers, and the premiums are down substantially, that does not mean there's not a silver shortage. It's just there's not a silver shortage in our little tiny niche market. The shortages exist out there in the ETFs, where Ted Butler believes that there's a huge, that's why SLV's been shorted heavily, is to cover it. And it gets convoluted and confusing. In fact, one of you mentioned to me in the comment section that you read Ted Butler's article, and it was very confusing. You didn't understand any of it, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a lot of technical terms. It's still hard for me to wrap my head around longs and shorts and how these crooks are able to manipulate this stuff. Thank God for Mr. Butler. I've explained a lot of this. May I also point out, too, it's not rocket science, folks. If you're not familiar with a particular term, I have discovered there's a site called Investopedia. Let me show you, Investopedia. So if you're reading Ted Butler stuff and you're not sure, what does this all mean? Investopedia is a great place to look. There's a little search thing right up here. What are you looking for? Let's type a long position, okay? Again, my goal here is to teach you folks, or give you skills. And for some of you folks, a lot of you folks know this, not a lot of you, but some of you folks know this stuff already. But look, long position definition, types, examples, pros and cons, and there you go, in a simple. And they also do videos, key takeaways, and I've used this site quite a few times. But again, if you're confused about the terms, I encourage you to learn them. I encourage you to take the time, even if it's something that seems a little bit boring, and all kind of economic stuff is boring. But all right, let's move here into a quick refresh here. And yes, here we go. Silver's getting monkey hammered. I wanted to do this morning around the opening, around 9 o'clock. And we're close to that number right now. But yep, here we go. We might see sub $24 today. It looks like silver's down 27 cents. The trashing with gold is almost over. Again, the criminals in the COMEX market, with the complicit help of the CFTC, in my opinion, have once again are going to trash the silver market by $1 or $2. Provides a great opportunity to buy, folks. And I know some of you saying, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that," but the truth of the matter is if you're going to buy anything, you want to buy it at its low. So buy the frickin' dips. It worked in the stock market. It works in every other market. If you buy the dips in a strong market, you're good to go. And again, this shortage that we're talking about, kind of curious here. Platinum's not down that much. Gold's kind of a little bit up. So let's see what happens here. But again, as far as the silver shortage goes, that's a game over. When they are not when they cannot fulfill the ETFs, SLV or PSLV, with the silver they need in order for them to run those operations, when COMEX Group doesn't have enough silver to fulfill obligations to deliver silver. And why? Because there is a major lack of silver out there, folks. I'm going to get into that in a moment, too. I'm going to get into something I think is going to be very interesting for you. There's your overnight markets right there. Sunday, kind of sideways with gold. And we're kind of seeing that with the price of gold. Look, gold's kind of held steady in that 1950 to 1970 range here for the last week or two. So the monkey hammering in gold hasn't been so successful. But remember, silver is a much smaller market. Take a look at this. There you go, off a cliff this morning, kind of what we thought again. And the reason, folks, this is not capitulation by silver investors. This is not that a big silver meteorite landed. This is not a giant silver mine was discovered in Mexico. This down market is not a result of anything organic. It's a result of the criminals that run this operation. It's a result of the lack of regulation from this particular worthless group of government regulators that go after small-time criminals instead of really doing their frickin' job. This is not organic, folks. And for new folks that are in the silver, they're like, "Oh God, it's going down." It's not organic. The stuff you hold in your hand, the stuff that you got buried in your yard, buried in your walls, in your safes, wherever you may have it, hopefully in your possession, is good stuff, folks. The stuff that these guys peddle is bullshit. But meanwhile, this bullshit is what determines the price of what we pay for our real metal. All right. Done beating that horse. Let's do a quick refresh too. Let's see if this is just going to continue to fall. No, kind of sideways. The hammers, the monkey hammering on silver seems to have not been as dramatic. But again, let's get through today and see what happens by tomorrow. All right, let me get into a couple other things I want to talk about. GATA.org, great website. If you're new to my videos, of course, I highly recommend you can read it for free. GATA.org. There it is right there. And a couple good articles on here talk about the Basel III endgame proposal. Basel III, I think people's expectations of the Basel, the rearrangement of the Basel was, well, anyways, again, whole new story, something we talked about a lot last year. BRICS currency not on the summit agenda, South African says, officials say. I'm sure in the background there are people talking about it there. But you remember, I don't believe that the BRICS nation is, the BRICS backing their currency in gold, if that's what they intend to do or saying they're going to do, is going to have any good, not say good effect, but not really any good effect too. Think about this. BRICS nations are no different than other nations. They're all greedy bastards. They're all, big, especially Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, fucking crooked nations too on top of it. Do you think that they're going to do anything that's positive for you or I or gold investors, or is that whole gold deal going to work for their benefit? Highly likely their benefit. And the other thing too is you're not going to be able to take your BRICS currency into the bank, central bank, whatever country, Brazil, Russia, India, China, or South Africa, and say, hey, can I change my 1 ruble here for a piece of gold, please? No, man, it ain't gonna happen. It's like the ETFs, all right? Look at the SLV, all right? SLV, believe it or not, you can ask for your silver, but only if you're a giant whale and you can afford to ask for enough of it. The average Joe, no way. Same thing with the BRICS currency. It's going to be available to the big whales out there that need to secure, make sure that the other countries get secure money, or they lose their collateral, i.e. gold. Anyways, I don't see it as being the ever-changing great thing for average gold owners out there, What I see good for gold and silver people is the continuation of printing money and the continuation of the larger segment of the public acknowledging and understanding the fraud that is fiat currency and the fraud that is currently running our money and our governments. All right, I'm going to kind of move along from that. Little thing I wanted to talk about. I got some great trepidation about trepidation. How's that for a word? Wrongly used too. One sec. Well, trepidation would not be a word. Trepidation about using this chart right here. This is put out by the Global Silver Institute. And the reason I was reading that is I was just kind of thinking about this the other day, and I was looking about silver uses. Ted Butler talked about a silver shortage out there. So my first thought was, well, okay, where is all the silver going, and what are the official numbers out there? Does it make sense? Okay. And it doesn't. I started looking at some things. Now, I haven't done the research. Let me know what you guys think. But in 2000, photography seemed 218 million ounces of silver, which is down substantially. But now it's down to 30 million ounces of silver for photography. I didn't even realize that photography, paper photography, was a thing. I guess they still use it in X-rays and stuff like that. But that got me to thinking too. I said, well, let me go look at the data. I know there's the Silver Institute, the Global Silver Institute, puts this data out, and I started kind of focusing and looking at some of this stuff here and thinking like, something just doesn't make sense to me, And I'll tell you, let me tell you where just my gut and my overall macro look at this thing when I step outside and I look at the big picture. You know what doesn't make sense to me on this chart right here, which I think a lot of people use this. A lot of traders use this. Maybe traders at the banks that are manipulating silver use it. People that use charts or whatever. Maybe the algos use this as well. But take a look at this. Silver supply and demand. Now, what bugs me out a little bit here is this right here. Take a look at this. 782.20, down 836.6 in mine production. I think that's millions of ounces. 836 million ounces, I think that is. And then in 2020, when the critter hits, it goes to 782.20. And then 2021, 827.6. Okay, 827 million ounces. Not a substantial increase, by far less than 10% on mine production. The other thing that bugs me out is this number right here, 148 million ounces in recycling. And I'm in the silver recycling business, so I got to kind of feel for what comes and goes. Look at that, 166 in recycling in 2020. And then 175. Now, this is during the critter time. This is during the shutdowns. And I got to tell you, right off the bat, my first feeling, my first instinct was, that just doesn't seem right. I mean, I am sure that mine production virtually shut down. I mean, shut down more or less. That number just seems vastly way too high. Mine production, you're telling me mine production in 20, and even in 2021, because things really weren't opened up. There's something really wrong with these numbers, in my opinion. And if you think I'm wrong, or you got some data that shows me otherwise, and again, I don't have the data yet to prove that, but just think about this. Think about Mines were shut down for this 2 period of years. How can the figure of mine production be so high? Look at recycling as well. I mean, I know pretty much 2020 was a wash on recycling. I mean, we went from doing, multiple barrels of 55-gallon drums of silver on a frequent basis to doing like barely one, okay? And this was not just me, this was everyone across the board. Now, when I'm talking about recycling, I'm talking about recycling from scrap, okay? Now, scrap recycling can also constitute the silver, which I was gonna get to, but that's only 30 million, okay? Something just doesn't make sense. These numbers to me don't make sense right here. Maybe it's recovered right here, but these 2 years, these numbers for mine production recycling just don't make sense. I think they're far less than that. I think someone fudged it, or I think that someone got it wrong, but in my humble opinion, this whole chart is off. And if that's the case, then there's quite a bit less silver out there than what they're claiming there is. Demand, if you go down here, you'll see that demand hasn't changed much too. Look at demand. Well, that's the other thing too. Demand wasn't substantially down in 2021 for industrial and electrical and electronics, despite the fact that we know there was a major slowdowns in this period in all these things, all right? So how come this is not being expressed in the numbers? How come we're not seeing substantial reductions? What we're seeing is a mere 10%. Something tells me this chart is just completely dead wrong and completely off to some degree. Now there we go, hang on a second. Market balance less ETPs minus 277.75. Net investments, okay, that's for ETPs, electronic. That's a whole different thing right there, but these numbers just look totally wrong to me. I'm going to send an email to Mr. Butler and see what he thinks and see if it makes any sense to him. All right, well, let's get out of there, folks, and get into what am I going to get into? Premiums. Premiums are still super cheap. I could still get a good deal, I think, as of Friday I could. Maybe today, maple leafs, man. I can get 4.9 maple leafs for you, gold maple leafs at spot plus $80. That is hard to beat. And I think 100-ounce bars are like $1.65 or something like that over. Really cheap as well on silver. So I've got a couple really good specials. Again, I haven't checked to see if the stuff is still available, but if it is, if it's quiet, I've got some really great deal on gold and silver products. And by the way, let me do my advertising spiel. This is Brian Kuzmar with Commercial Rare Coins and Precious Metals. Been in this location since '95. Been doing this since '77. If you're looking to buy anywhere from $1 worth to millions of dollars worth of gold, silver, and platinum, give us a call. We're here 10 to 4, and we do it right, folks, and we'll get you in at a good price point, and we'll try to save you money by not putting you into overpriced products that so many other companies do. And if you don't live in South Florida and you can't come and visit our brick and mortar store because we don't have an online website where you can click and have stuff sent to you, try to find a good local dealer. And if you don't have a good local dealer here, give us a call here at this number, and we'll see what we can do for you. And let me move back here. Here, I'm back and forth. Good deals, lots of good deals in gold and silver, folks, especially in silver right now. But that may change quick if we see a big down in prices. People will start to come in and suck up that stuff. All right, let's see here. Golden premiums crash. Let me do a quick refresh here, sort by newest. I'd like to thank everyone that watched last week's video, silver bar and coin premiums crash. I think that was Thursday or Friday. And here, let me blow that up a little bit, see if I can answer a few of your questions. Got to get past all that. Give me one second. I think down here we'll see them. There we go. Let's go to the bottom here. If you get dizzy, I do. Show Pro, what's up, dude? First, you are? Well, be well, you too, Alex. Be well. I like that. Be well. I got a coffee cup like that. Just met with a local guy selling off some stuff. Good deal, dude. 2023. How much per ounce is that? 50? Well, that's not bad at all. Someone's trying to reach me. I told them not to call me. Gary Blanco, my employees. I looked up Code Red article. I couldn't understand anything. Gary, yeah, that's kind of what I was talking about. Gary, take it slowly, a little bit at a time in chunks, in little pieces, and definitely go to, I think I showed you up here, Investopedia right here. It's a great website. And type in the words you don't understand and just read it. I mean, it is complicated stuff, I got to admit, if you're not familiar with this world. And I'm not. I'm a physical guy. I'm not a paper trader. It is hard for me to wrap my head around as well, but highly recommend that you do wrap your head around it, take your time on it, because it makes you smarter and it makes you a better trader. and you'll make more money that way. The Boomer 53 says when some kind of metals market shutdown occurs and will, the shakeup from that will rattle metals market to historic proportions. Panic to own, panic, yeah. Kind of what Ted Butler says, when we have that oh shit, oh crap moment in the morning when we wake up and you hit that button on the computer and go, a refresh, whoa, look at these prices. I think we're going to see that. And you're right, no one's going to sell if the metal market collapses. The premiums will go right through the roof, but I don't see a collapse right now. Let's get through this week first, but I think Ted Butler's right. Let's take a look now while we're talking. Hang on. Let's see, she's down a little bit more. She's holding steady. She's up a little bit from that low, 24.35. Interesting, very interesting considering the size of that position, short position. Silver's showing some really strong. Again, the day ain't over yet. The fat lady hasn't sung yet. Excellent broadcast. Thank you, Copper Bones. That's true. I think about that when I say the word cheap. I should say inexpensive. It's a bad sales technique to say cheap. Cheaper, inexpensive. You're right. Psychologically, you are correct there. Boy. Thank you, too, Edward, for reminding me of that. Rainbird says, Ted Butler since 2004, you repeated saying banks will stop supplying paper into the next price rise. Never seems to happen. The casino goes back and gets more chips to play, lots of fake. Ted Butler has said that, and I've been reading him for, I don't think as long as you, actually, but my subscription, I've had a subscription with him for about 2 or 3 years now. But he always has that caveat, and again, the caveat that I kind of say, never underestimate the crookedness of these people, but at some point, and he's absolutely correct, and I have a friend of mine that explained the same thing, that, even in a crooked market, at some time it always blows up in their faces. It always does, especially when you have an underlying asset that's a physical asset, a tangible asset. It always blows up in their faces. And Rainbird, we're just waiting for that blow up in their face moment, okay? Let's see how that turns out. Michael Matthew Grouper, yeah, man, you can't fish for Goliath groupers anymore. They're a protected species now. Anytime silver goes near 26, premiums go down, absent a lot of demand, still the same price. That's true, Jared. I've seen that as well. $26, $25, that's when they've kind of monkey hammered it down. But you didn't see the $5 or $6 smackdown we typically see when we're reaching that $25 mark. It's been less severe than it has been in the past. I think Ted's onto something about this silver shortage. How does that play with all the countries buying tons of gold? How does that not move the price in a big way? They're not really buying more. They've always been buying. They've just been adding, Joe. They've just been adding to their positions in these central banks, and they're going to take that gold, which has really been sitting in their banks, and they're going to back their currencies with it, which is a really smart idea. I'd like to see it redeemable by the average Joe, but that's never going to happen. That's what we're talking about. Walter, I think the best thing to do is give me a call on that. I'm usually here 10 to 4. Leave a message if I'm not, and I'll get back to you. There are, I don't see where grading service is different by holder type. There's no. You have to have a basic knowledge of what holders are where and what's not, and there's no papers to go read about this. There might be some stuff on the internet, but really it's kind of a market where there's no guidelines, all right? And the experts are just guys that have bought and sold a lot of it and recognize what there's not a lot of these. That's why I want to pay so much for these. Again, just a supply and demand market, but for plastic, I don't get it. But again, if you want more information, give me a call, Walter, and thanks for asking that question. Like I said, they will raise interest rates with dollar index will keep going up, bringing metals down. Plus, there's a low demand for silver right now. Good luck to those not believe people that sell silver or gold. Raising interest rates and the dollar index. The dollar index is really has nothing to do with, well, it does have something to do with raising interest rates, but interest rates can't be raised to a significant level. Interest rates would have to go to the point where it's a real return before people would stop buying gold or silver, or smart people, all right? Dumb people will stop buying gold and silver when they think interest rates are going up because they don't understand what a real return is. And when they try to figure it out, they get bullshit numbers. And it's not ever going to be at a point where it's a real return, basis inflation, CPI, and all that stuff. The next thing, the dollar index. The dollar index is simply a bullshit gauge against other turds, other currencies. It's a bullshit gauge against the ruble and all that stuff. It's not, the dollar index has nothing to do with the fact that when it's higher, the dollar buys more. No, it just means it buys more than the other turds, the other falling turds out there. All right, user, thank you for commenting. I'd like to thank everybody for watching that video. Make sure you hit that share, like, and subscribe button as well, please. And if you don't find me on this particular social forum, social media forum, you can find me here as well. And the new X forum, as you know, he just changed the name. He got rid of the little blue bird. Good. Screw it. He should have done that a while ago, probably, and got that, I don't know, man, crappy looking X. But X, I like it. I like it better than Twitter. Twitter just kind of reminded me of the old bullshit. All right, folks, that's it. And I know it was supposed to be the quote of the year last year, and I wasn't going to use it anymore. But you know what? It works on everything. And as I always say, think for yourself, question authority, and question me. You know what I mean? Question everything around you, because what you were told or what you believe right now may not necessarily be the truth. So most of all, question yourself. Hey, that's it, folks. Make sure if you're looking to buy gold and silver, platinum, any amount, $1 to millions of dollars worth, we can supply you with that and give you a very competitive price with great service. We're open 10 to 4 Mondays through Fridays at Brick and Mortar in South Florida. We don't have a website. If you're looking to order from us and you don't have a good local dealer, give us a call. Maybe we can help you out. But again, I can't stress enough, find yourself a good local dealer. But if you can't, give us a call. Thanks for watching, folks. Have yourself a wonderful day, and shout out to the Reddit Wall Street Apes as well. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye now.